So first of all, I would like to greet all the pilgrims and the luminaries of Holy Mary which are joining us with this retreat. And I want to each one of you to be sure of our prayer for all of us here in Fatima, in this blessed land of Fatima, that I am willing that you visit very, very soon, because to do this on a Zoom is not as good as it is to do in real. So I miss people. So anyway, but I'm trying to do my best. So my topic today is, under this title, Do Not Be Afraid, to share a little bit what in these last 20 years of reflection and of meditating on the message of Fatima, how can we get from the message of Fatima some insights for us to not be afraid. As we all know, and Sister Lucia and Sister Ana Louise and also Sister Brittany in their previous talks, or in her talks, spoke about, Fatima opens with an announcement of, let us not be afraid. Both from the angel and from the Blessed Mother, this great call to not be afraid, especially in our moments. As we know, 100 years ago in 1917, when Our Lady brought the message of Fatima to the world was living a specific moment of fear, which was the First World War. So 100 years later, being touched by this pandemic situation, by so many conflicts, with such a great impact on economics, in politicals, and even in the church, this situation affects so much our daily relationships and even the way we live the sacraments, that it is natural that we can feel fear. But like we listened previously, one thing is to feel fear, other thing is to be afraid. Feel fear is normal, especially in moments of darkness. Be afraid. It's normal for those who do not have faith. Because if we live under the faith and the spiritual values like Jesus gave us in the gospel with his passion, death, and resurrection, then we are not afraid. We have hope in the midst of all the disaster things. We have courage, even in the midst of the greatest difficulties. We have light in the middle of all the darkness. So here I'm using a little word that I'd like to type into this do not be afraid. That is the word light. And why is this word with such an importance in the message of Fatima? Well, if we cover all the apparitions since 1915, with the apparition of the angel not so clear, a little bit not so clear, not so luminous, to the apparitions of 1916 with the angel of Portugal 3 times to the shepherd children, to the apparitions of the Blessed Mother in 1917, and then at Pontevedra and II in 1925 and 1929, probably one of the words that is used the most is the word light. Also is the word that Lucia used to describe the Blessed Mother more often. A woman more shining than the sun, a woman dressed with the sun, a woman more brilliant than the sun, and finally the miracle that testified that the apparitions were true was exactly the miracle of the sun. So a miracle of light. And in one moment, Lucia, describing right in the beginning in May, how they got approached to this little tree and what they experienced, Lucia wrote this, and I am quoting, "We stopped, Francisco, Jacinta, and Lucia, astounded before the apparition. We were so close that we were inside the light which surrounded her, or rather, which radiated from her." They were so close to the Blessed Mother that they were inside the light. So why am I saying this, inside the light? Because this is the title of the book that we wrote, again, collecting all the 20 years of meditation and reflection. For many years, the Sanctuary of Fatima invited me to do this formation, this 7 hours formation or 8 hours formation on the message of Fatima. And I also did a lot of times in the United States. We were thinking a title for the book, or a title for these 7 hours formation. Many words came to our minds, but I remember we were at the lunch table with all the sisters in the community, and I remember to say, I would like that the title has the word light. So one sister came up with this title, Inside the Light, and we think it is very, give us a key of understanding the message of Fatima, and why this message can be a call for us not to be afraid, because exactly it brings light to the darkness moments that we are lived. Because one of the things that really makes us feel more afraid or more fear is darkness, which means when we do not understand what's going on, when we do not have an explanation for the things that are occurring, when we feel that we cannot control the situations that can happen to us in the present or in the future, when even some things about ourselves and our history are not very clear, that's what makes us be afraid. So what is the message of Fatima specifically to these times of darkness? It's a message of light. But not only the words of Our Lady bring light to our lives, and I will share with you a couple of things that can be like luminaries, little lights that can illuminate our way. But I would like us to underline this idea that is more than ever, our role as Christians, or in other words, our vocation as Christians is to be witnesses of this light that is Christ. More than ever, especially when the situations, when the world is living a moment of darkness, of fear, more than ever, it is very important that we Catholics are aware of our responsibility that is given to us by our baptismal condition, that we have to be living witnesses of the only light that is God. And I think this is a great challenge to the Luminaries of Holy Mary, to all the people who are watching this video, is it's like a vocation that we receive when we are baptized. That's why that candle is lit in the moment of our baptism, because that candle, as we know, that light is Christ. And we being baptized immediately, we have to feel responsible to irradiate that light, to give that light to others. But again, in moments of confusion, of dark, not only we Catholics are losing hope and our light is not so shining, but also we don't know what light we radiate. How can we be witnesses of Christ? How can we be fulfilled with that light that is Christ in order to a certain point become testimonies, witnesses of that light that is Christ? That's how the Blessed Mother comes in. That's how the message of Fatima is showing us and explaining us how can we become concretely in our daily lives, in our simple daily lives, not extraordinary. How can we be in our families, in our jobs, in our parishes, testimonies of the only light that is Christ? Well, first thing, I would like to again recall our attention to the role of the Blessed Mother, specifically in moments of darkness and confusion like ours. And I have to turn to page 138. I'm repeating, please. You can go, if you have your book, and go to 138 page. And if you don't have your book, you can buy it very soon. Anyway, easy. Okay, all of you know I like to joke. So, but it's one of my favorite sentences of the book. The Blessed Mother was very good. And I'm quoting the author of the book. She wrote, "Just as the column of fire gave light to the chosen people in the Old Testament during their dark nights of pilgrimage through the desert, so the Virgin Mary, in her splendor, continues to guide the people of the New Covenant through the darkness of our nights, leading us securely to the promised land of the heart of Jesus." This is one of the most beautiful ideas, how I like to understand the role of the Blessed Mother, that it was point from God to our time in the message of Fatima. She's like the column of fire that guide us in the desert of our times to the promised land of the heart of Jesus. So one idea clearly we have to be in our heart. She's guiding us to Jesus. She's not guiding us to herself. She's leading us, the people of the new covenant. She's guiding us towards the promised land of the heart of Jesus. And how can we be followers of Christ with a Marian spirituality? What can we do to become more and more testimonies of the only light that is Christ, fulfilling the message of Fatima? Well, Our Lady gives us 3 very practical lessons. First of all, adoration. Without adoration, Eucharistic adoration concretely, but mainly with an attitude of adoration, which means to have God as the only center of our life, have no idols of any nature, nor money, nor fame, nor glory, nor being the ego center of our lives, but having God as the only center of our life. Only with adoration we can really become luminaries, light to the world. And it's beautiful because in one of the apparitions, in Tui apparition, when Lucia in 1929, for those of you who don't know the apparition so well, Lucia was starting the apparition, or before starting the apparition, she did not know what was going to take place. She was doing Eucharistic adoration. The chapel was all darkness. The only light was the little light of the tabernacle that illuminates Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. I can see that, and I wrote that also in the book, that little light as a metaphor of our spiritual life. Everything can be in darkness around us. The fear of the pandemic, of the death, of the lack of security in our politicians, even sometimes in the church. Everything can be wrong in our life, but if that little light is still illuminating our lives, if the adoration is the center of our life, then sooner or later, all our life will be fulfilled with light, like it was the chapel in Tui after Lucia starting to have the apparition. So the first call is to make adoration. The second call is, how can we live with Mary as Mary did her discipleship with Christ? How can we live with the Blessed Mother our way of being witnesses of the light that is Christ? How can we do as Our Lady did, be a light to our brothers and sisters that live with us, so bring hope? Our Lady gives us three ideas, 3 requests, which if I was with you present, I would ask my Luminaries of Holy Mary which the 3 requests are. So I'm giving 30 seconds to think. Well, 5. Well, okay, I'll answer immediately. So I'll give the 3 requests. Of course, the Rosary, reparation, and consecration. With these requests fulfilled by us, we can, it's like put the oil in the lamp, so the lamp can still illuminate our life, and through us, the life of those who are trying to reach Jesus. How can we really call ourselves children of this Blessed Mother if we do not pray our rosary every day? That's one thing that I don't understand. And as I get older, I understand less and less. Because even the Hail Mary, and I think sometimes we do not think enough about the Hail Mary. It's the incarnation moment. Every time I think that I'll pray the Hail Mary, just by praying the Hail Mary, I do recall, I do make memorial, not only recall with my memory, I really do a memorial of the most important moment of our history of salvation, which is the Incarnation. Without that moment, salvation could not come into our own world, and we would be totally in darkness forever. So we know that is the prayer that Our Lady asked the most in all her apparitions. We know that is the prayer that the popes spoke the most in all the magisterial documents, at least in the last 2 centuries. Why do we still have obstacles, interior resistance to the prayer of the Rosary? That's a mystery to me, really. And like I say in the book, if you wait to start to understand the Rosary in order to pray it, you will never understand it, you will never pray it. We should start to pray the Rosary just under obedience. The Blessed Mother asked, I'm doing it. And sometimes we do forget that the original sin, it's an act of disobedience, stimulated by pride. Okay, men want to decide their own ways without God, so they disobeyed. So just when we pray the Rosary as an act of obedience to the request of the Blessed Mother, even if we do not understand, we are holding in our hands one of the most radiant secrets of the message of Fatima. That is the power and the efficacy of the prayer of the Rosary. Not only because we will illuminate our lives with the mysteries of Christ, but we really achieve that peace that make us, that idea that, yes, if I am in the arms of the Blessed Mother, if I am in her Immaculate Heart through my prayer of the Rosary, why am I afraid? What to be afraid of? Why, because it's not my capacity or ability or talents that can take fear away. No, it's the true certainty that I do belong to God and that I do live in His arms. This is the only thing who can take fear away. It's this trust. But of course, this is a relationship. God's provide us His arms, but we need to be willing to be in His arms. God provides us His heart, but we need to be willing to be in His heart. God provides us His mother, but yes, we need to be willing to jump into the heart of Mary and live our lives after that or in that place. And how do we jump into the heart of Mary? By the prayer of the Rosary. So pray the Rosary every day. It's one of the aspects that can really give us the grace of do not be afraid, of hope and light. The other way, of course, is reparation. And I'm not going to now a lot with this reparation, but a key aspect to understand why reparation can help us not to be afraid is something that comes from one of the dimensions of reparation, that is consolation. And, doing research for my book, or for the book Inside the Lights, I found this sentence, this quote from Benedict XVI. It's in page 162. I will go to page 162. You can go to, I'll give you 1 second to find the page while I'm finding myself the page. One sentence from Benedict XVI, really, in all the readings I read about trying to figure out clearly, because this idea of reparation, of consoling God, is challenging, okay? It is challenging. I'm not quoting Van Balthasar, it's quoted there in the same page, so you can read that. I'm not quoting all the theologians I read. One idea from Benedict XVI was so clear to me, that made me understand why doing reparation can take our fear out. Pope Benedict says, picks up in the word consolation in his root, the Latin root, consolatio, consolation, con means with, and this says consolation, it's a suggestion of being with the other in his solitude, solation, solitude, so that it ceases to be solitude. So consoling God, in the words of Benedict, is being with God in his solitude, so God is not alone anymore. Why this can stop us to be afraid? Because think about this. When you have a relationship with someone with such depth that you know that being with that person takes out the solitude away of this person, that means you have an intimacy. That means you are friends. That means somehow this person who are alone and allows you to make consolation, to keep company so he's not alone, that means that this person is allowing you to enter in his heart. If God, or the Blessed Mother, is presenting Francisco, Jacinta, and Lucia with the idea, console your God, and these words were spoken by the angel in 1916, console your God, and Francisco especially was so captured by these words that he understood, if I keep company to God in the tabernacle, by thinking about God while I am in the mountains, that means that God is allowing me to keep him company. If God is allowing me to keep him company, that's because I'm so close to him, that it's a friendship relationship, it's a friendly relationship, it's a relationship with intimacy. And when we do become so intimate with God that he allows us to console him, then we should not be afraid. Because you see, I share my joys with everybody. I call my friends, I call my family, I call even my enemies that I don't have, but I call them anyway to tell all my joys. But to share my loneliness, or to allow someone to keep me company in my loneliness, just very few people. I allow that. And if I look to those people, they are the most close to me. They are the one that I feel, they are special friends or special sisters. I have to admit, my religious sisters, I have that. So reparation increases you the feeling that you don't need to be afraid. Because if you get used to do reparation to God, that means God is allowing you to get closer in his intimacy. And finally, and this is my last subject, consecration, of course. And let me not share with you consecration as Our Lady asked to Russia, because this is another hour of talk, but consecration to her Immaculate Heart in a personal way. And I also like to read this in the book, page 175. When some theologians thinking, why it is necessary to consecrate to the Blessed Mother if we have the consecration in the baptism? If we are consecrated to God and to the Mother of God in the baptism, why? Well, Karl Rahner and Stefano de Fioris, many clearly or very clearly explain to consecrate oneself to Mary is to allow ourselves consciously being aware that we want to be helped by her example, by her intercession, to find the true meaning of Christian life, that is defined by the baptism. So you want to be aware and living after that point that you are really a child of Mary, and we want to live with her help, with her example, with her intercession, the challenges of Christian life. So I think follow all these little insights that coming from the message of Fatima, I recollect in the book Inside the Lights, we can truly be not only people who are not afraid because we are being illuminated by the light of God itself, but we can be testimonies and witnesses as our baptismal vocation asks us to everybody that is living in a moments of darkness and sorrows. And yes, I think a good help can be inside of. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you soon in Fatima. Bye.